Hello, everybody, and welcome once again to another episode of the Fully Rendered Podcast. As you can see, there is a blank space where Peachy should be. Unfortunately, he has the flu and is weeping in the fetal position, so we thought it would only be good to give him a day off. However, fret not, for we have a special guest with us today. Some of you may know her as an internet idiot. Others as a speedrunner, others as the best Ken in all of Canada, as far as I'm concerned anyway. We have Katlink on the show today. Kat, how are you doing?
I'm doing pretty good. You know, I have my apple juice and I'm ready to talk about some more. That's what I'm excited for that, really.
Fantastic.
I've been geeking about this game.
Okay.
Me too. I'm really excited about this one.
Yeah, I'm going to be taking a backseat for the vast majority of this and just be like, oh, they're so cute. I love them, kind of thing. Very hyped for you both. But of course, I am, as always, joined by the pulpist of fictionaries. That is not a euphemism, I promise you. But Kat, I know who you are. Let's find out for everyone else who you are, though, because I can just be like, yes, this is Kat, deal with it. But who are you? What do you do?
Who am I and what do I do?
Who's your daddy and what does he do?
I don't know who my daddy is.
Fair.
Same.
No, I do a lot of horror content mainly. I mean, for the last 8 years, I've been streaming full time. 7 years now. Mostly a lot of horror. I've kind of taken a little backseat on horror lately because there's only so much bottom of the barrel scraping you can do on the genre until it gets a little dry. But I've always loved horror. And that's been like the main focus for me. And I also do speedrunning, challenge runs. I've done voice only stuff. I've done dance pad runs. I've done one-handed runs, all sorts of stuff. Speed runs are like the main thing I've done a lot of with games done quick and stuff like that. But yeah, that's the majority of it. I just love to geek out on horror games and vibe with my chat.
Yeah, fantastic. So obviously you've mentioned you do speedrunning as well as horror games, and I suppose with Silent Hill 2 these two things have coalesced and you've played through the game a substantial amount of times. How many of the endings have you yet to get? I believe I heard you say 2 previously. Is that right?
I've gotten all the endings except for the new ones. So I've gotten all the OG endings. I'm not sure how to get... I haven't looked up at all on how to get the newer endings. I do want to get them. I
got one of them.
You got one of them? Nice.
I got one of them. Yeah, I'm missing 3 endings, which is Maria, UFO, and one of the newer ones, which is Bliss. I got Stillness.
Okay, nice.
Yeah.
Yeah, I've gotten a Rebirth ending. I've gotten...
I had to get Rebirth.
Yeah, I got a Rebirth ending on my second go, or on my third go. I can't remember specifically. I think it was... I got in water for my first one.
Same! I was so mad!
Well, I played on hard mode, and I was just like, well... I'm getting in water ending because holy, I am using a lot of health items and I got a whole lot of no health items. So that's unfortunate. But I mean, I like the in water ending. I think it's good. I like that.
I wanted the in water later. Like I wanted to have like end on a high note, and I got in water. I was like, what did I do?
Well, there's like a few things that can trigger it. Well, obviously, like if you're not healing yourself or you're not fully healed a majority of the time.
Yeah. Well,
you're not gonna get it, or you're.
Well, I kept trying to like question if I checked the knife, which I never did. But it was more. From what I understand, certain like internal parameters, like the scarlet egg and the rust egg, like which one you decide to use, like those apparently have contributed to it as well.
There's also in Neely's bar. There's like the writing on the wall.
Yeah, I did read that.
Why don't you just die, James?
Geez, thanks.
Significantly increases the chances of getting in water as well.
I also was trying to get look around as much as I could. I was being as diligent as possible, so I didn't know that note or that writing on the wall triggered it, and I saw that. And there was when I had to, because I did look up stuff, and I wanted to see what triggered it. And when I saw that, I was like, oh, okay, so that was just me being way too diligent.
Yeah, I mean, I did the same thing when I before the game even launched, I was pulling out the champagne. I was
Hitting yourself in the face with it.
I broke my monitor because I was moving my boom arm around, my mic arm around, and I accidentally smacked it into my monitor, and I was like, oh, I may have gotten a little too excited.
That happened before it came out?
Before it came out, I was like, it was like the countdown to like, it was like a 30 minutes before the game was going to launch, 10 minutes before the game was going to launch, and I was like super excited, and I was just full of energy gremlin mode, and I got a cork in the face. It
was a beautiful moment for all that witnessed it.
So when I went into the game, I was like, I want to look at everything. I'm like, oh, do they still have this here? Is this still here? Oh my god, they still have the weird stuff.
I have a question for you.
Yeah.
So I was talking about this during my stream when I was playing it, and I had some people ask if they needed to play the original. I've told people that I think that if you played the original, it enhances your experience vastly.
Yeah, I'd say it definitely does. I think at the end of things, it's like at the end of the day, it's like you can still play the remake and
totally
generally get the similar experience. Obviously with the added extra stuff that they put in from out of the original. There's certain scenes that we'll get to later, I'm sure. But in terms of like, do you need to play the original? No, but
I don't think you need to.
It's really cool to see the differences that they did, the changes that they made.
What I noticed was like because my husband really wanted to play it with me, so we kind of switched off on our first playthrough. So like I would play certain areas and I would give him the controller, and vice versa. And there was like anytime like there was something like I knew was going to happen that was like kind of spooky that he did, because he played the original once. I made him, but I made him when we first started dating. And then I played the original multiple times. I still I would pull out my fatty PS2 constantly. I've seen that from the fatty on my stream before, but that's the storage right now. And because I knew so much, like anytime I would get to like the glimpses of the past, like those that they included into the game, I would have like, oh yeah. And my husband would sit there like, it's a fence.
To anybody who has not played the original, those are so confusing. Yeah. Because they don't have any context. It doesn't say anything, mention anything. It's just a fuzzy screen moment and noise, like a little jingle happens.
Yeah, a little jingle.
Okay, what am I looking at? Even for me, like the first one I noticed was in the apartments. It was the first one I had noticed because when I first played the game, I didn't play with any indications. Like there was no like press E on here, so I had to really look for ammo, really look for everything, and I just didn't notice until I got to the apartments, and I was like, what is this scratches on the wall? I was so confused. I was like, what is this? And I didn't get to the hospital where I was like, there's the bowl key. There's the carbon paper. Oh, okay.
I had to turn on the indicators at first. I turned them off. I was like, I'm going in completely authentic. And when I was telling Bryan before you came in and before we started the show, like when I first played, I was I wanted to go like, I'm going authentic. I want to have like the most like just like on PS2, but I didn't realize that I missed so many health items, so many things in the like a lot of stuff where I got to a point in the apartments because I hadn't really gotten the combat down, and the mannequins were a little bit much in that one area where like they were just kind of hiding around the corner a lot. It's on the 3rd floor, and I just remember like getting like kind of frustrated. I was like, fuck, like where's all the healing items? I'm getting none. So I went back. I went back and I was like, I'm gonna take my time. And at this one I realized like I suck at games when I stream.
Fair. It's a lot of distractions happening all at once, right?
Exactly. So I went back and I restarted the game, same settings and everything, but I just turned on the indicators and I was like, I'm gonna see what I can find in my own time and get to the same spot where I left off. And I was, if it was worth it, I would continue that save file. And I found like 3 times as many healing items. There were so many like things, like the same with the glimpses of the past. A lot of that stuff just went way over my head because I didn't see them.
Yeah. Well, it's especially because like when I first, like, because I played through the entirety of the game, hard combat, had hard puzzle, everything off, the HUD for everything, just everything was off. I couldn't see how much ammo I had. I didn't have the vignetting for anything. Everything was off. So it took me a moment to like realize, oh, that's what so that's what the heals look like. Okay, we're using syringes. They're generally in these orange boxes. I had to put pieces together of like, okay, what to look for. So it got easier over time, but then I definitely had a lackluster of items to use.
Yeah.
And every boss fight, I would pump out everything, and then afterwards, I'm like, well, I got nothing now.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So, Pulp, you alluded to something earlier, so a question I want to ask you both. Before I do that, though, also, me and Pulp were talking prior to you jumping into the call, Kat. You've recently done the melee-only achievement.
Oh, yeah, he said he did the steel pipe. That's impressive.
Yeah, so that was actually a breeze. Until...
I was under the impression, because I recall you saying in the stream that it didn't work with the chainsaw, and then Pulp told me she did it with the chainsaw.
I wasn't sure because in the achievement it just shows the plank and the pipe.
Right.
So I was under the assumption that okay, chainsaw probably is like doesn't work for that. No, so I was just like, I'll go hard mode, plank, pipe only. The PP run. We're going for the PP run.
PP run, best run. Yeah, I just wanted to throw that out there just in case the sudden realization that you could have done it with a chainsaw would either warm your heart or kill you inside. I didn't know which.
So I found that out once I got to, because the whole thing was really a walk in the park. It really wasn't that hard. Yeah. But to be fair, I was speedrunning the game at this point too. So I was like, I already knew where to go, what to do, what I can skip, what I don't have to do. All right, I already know the puzzle answers. We're good. And it wasn't until I got to the double pyramid head fight, where I knew it was going to be annoying.
Yeah, that was an annoying one. Even though I didn't use the steel pipe, Eddie was a little tough because sometimes he would just run out of my way, and I'm like,
yeah. Eddie was definitely a little bit of a bastard. Yeah, put it lightly. Because I
liked the fight the first time I went in, and then when I went in with Amelia, I was like, oh my god, he keeps running away.
Yeah, and he's like Usain Bolt. He's like, he's out. He's gone. Yeah. The thing is too is like you'll be chasing him in that room, and then he teleports. So like he'll chase into a wall, and it's like, oh, and he's gone. I guess I'll wait for him to do I can see you. And like, all right, where are you?
And then there was like when the fog would come on, I'm like, oh god, here we go. Just gotta start running through. I remember there was a few times where I just like my brain just completely like just shut off and I didn't think to use the meat to protect myself. Yeah. So I was I started getting really mad on Eddie during my melee run. I was just like, oh my god, he just
stop. Dodge in that game is very like it's not really nice.
It's good and it's not good at the same time.
You have to dodge earlier than you think you do.
Yeah.
So it's like you go up to him, and as soon as he has the gun up, you can dodge, and he'll probably miss. And like obviously the meat bags and everything too. In the original, for the speed run, we would use the meat bag specifically, and he would keep punching it and just punch it over and over and over again. And as he's punching it, you can shoot him, and he'll just keep punching the meat bag. So I instinctively was like, oh, just use the meat bags to block anything that he wants to do, except for certain instances where Eddie's full lunge punch just goes through things, and you're like, okay, Eddie, I see you.
So what's your speed run time right now?
I think currently, it depends on the category. So for New Game Plus, it's 2 hours and 1 minute.
Damn.
And then for New Game Glitchless, it's 2 hours and 7 minutes, which I can still save a ton of time. I could probably get both of them under an hour, but yeah, it's gotten down considerably. But it's an exhausting speed run. It's very long.
Can you
for what it is?
Can you expand on that? I'm curious. I'm not a speedrunner. I've always said like I'm always very impressed by speedrunners because I've my brain just does not, it's not wired to do that. I get bored really fast. So
You wouldn't like this speedrun, I promise. I love the game. It's a fantastic game.
I do too.
As a speedrun, it's a lot of holding W. It's just moving forward. Go to point A, point B, which is a lot of the same with the original game, but the original game is only 45 minutes, 40 minutes, probably like 40 minutes if you're on a good time. This one, it's 2 hours. It's really lengthy. So because they expanded on a lot of the areas, so
dude, the hospital is huge.
So yeah, the hospital for one is pretty lengthy. The town, the initial like getting to the town, that was also lengthy in the original. But getting the Woodside apartment key was just
really fast.
Go to Martin Street, pick up the key, go to Cat Street, go into the apartment, you're done.
Yeah.
Whereas this one, it's like, okay, we got to go get the mini bar's key or the coin. We got to
coin, the record. Yeah.
Yeah. So you got to go get a bunch of other extra things, which taps on from going from like a 2-minute wander in the city to like a 10-minute, 15-minute wander in the city.
Yeah.
So it really just adds on and it gets a little annoying. However, the any percent run, we have found out that if you drop the FPS down to 3, you can go through things.
Nice.
A lot of things. You can just skip a whole lot of. They found a way to skip the hospital entirely. They found a way to skip Labyrinth entirely. And then they also found there was another skip on top of that. Basically with using the ledges once you go over it, if you heal at the same time as going over a ledge or going into a shimmy, you can just go out of bounds at 3 FPS, and then you bring the FPS back and you wander through out of bounds. But yeah, so that run is down to like an hour and a half, but it's still an hour and a half.
How does someone figure that out? That's what I want to know.
Carefully.
It often comes down to just what have I done before in other runs. So FPS is a common thing, especially with Unreal games. So if you drop the FPS down in Unreal games, you can probably break it very quickly. So it's usually,
which is like, as somebody who doesn't speedrun, that's naturally like I would never do that because it's like, oh my god, that sounds like a nightmare to look at.
Oh yeah, it is. I'm not a huge fan of the 3 FPS stuff. That's not my jam. But I have done a lot of speedruns.
Did you do the any percent run for Silent Hill? No,
I don't really care for it. I think it's interesting with what you can do, but I just find it very annoying to look at personally. And also, you need third-party software to drop it down and bring it back up, and I am too lazy. But yeah, it usually comes down to like, okay, what have I done? And like, so in RE7, I dropped down the FPS to 30 to squeeze by enemies. So it makes your hitbox smaller. So it's it kind of carries on to other games, and you try it and see what works. And sometimes, maybe if an enemy hits me at a wall, will it boost me? Who knows? Try it. And sometimes things get found by other people casually playing the game, and then, something broken happened. And we're like, I wonder what we can do with that.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
And then
speedrunning's very interesting.
And then they fix the bug.
I have a bad habit of I'll break my games by accident, but it's not because I'm speedrunning. It's because I did something and I'm like, I don't know, I broke it. I can't do anything anymore. But it's never anything helpful. It's getting stuck in a wall.
Yeah, been there. Mostly, that's a trailing meme with my chat where they're just like, all right, Kat, you gonna break this game too, or are we gonna play it normally?
I've had that with my chat too. It's like, how do you always figure out a way to break game? I don't know. I just do. So what are some of the exploits you've done for your speedrun? Because I'm curious how, since you're not doing the any percent, you're not skipping anything, you're still going through.
Yeah, so I do glitchless. So I do everything as it normally should play out. It actually has a little bit more like a lot of people like watching glitchless more than anything. Because there's a huge camp of people that are like 80% bad, cheating. You're going through the wall. You're not playing the game. You're just going straight to the other point. You're cheating. Fair enough. Not everybody's cup of tea, but the glitchless run is it's comfy. It's not bad. My pinky hurts after a while. Holding shift down for like 2 hours. I also have terrible wrists, but yeah, for other, I have done glitched runs. RE7 was like a minorly glitched run. The most recent one was probably Alone in the Dark, where if you go towards a wall, look up, and pause the game, as soon as the FPS drops naturally and you unpause, you can go out of bounds.
Oh, that's interesting.
Because it deloads everything. So because everything's deloaded, and you wait for the
I would
FPS
never know
drop.
how to figure this out. I would.
It's all trial and error.
I guess so.
Yeah, it's a lot of it came down to like one skip I found where I was able to boost myself on top of this this like barrel, get onto this fence, and then I found out that I can deload by depending on where I look.
Right.
I wonder if I can go through this, and then I was able to find a skip to get inside of a building because of that. But it was like with the use of an enemy boosting me on top of this barrel, and then frame switching. But it because of that opened the gate to everything else. So that run went down from like an hour to 25 minutes.
Wow.
Damn.
Yeah. Maybe
wow.
It was like 20 minutes. It was a very, very short run after we found everything. It was kind of ridiculous.
That's really fucking cool.
Yeah.
So now that we're in the meat and potatoes of the subject matter, my question, with it being a remake, which do you prefer? Hope, do you want to go first?
I think they both have their own merits.
Okay.
I wouldn't prefer one over the other. I think if you're trying to get into the game, it's a lot more accessible to new players. Mm-hmm. But I could see the charm in both games. So I actually don't prefer one over the other. Visually, of course, No, that's all. Like visually, like obviously that there's going to be strengths in the remake, but I can't by confidently say I prefer one over the other because I do have a huge soft spot for the original. That was a game that got me into horror.
Right.
So I like unabashedly love it, and despite all of its flaws. But I think that if I were to recommend the game, or if someone wanted to get into Silent Hill, then Silent Hill 2 Remake would be the one I would recommend because it is so much more accessible than the original.
Right. That makes sense. Is there anything that has been changed for better or for worse that you wish they did, or glad they did do, or would prefer if they hadn't done? Anything to that effect?
We'll put a pin in that. Let me think about it.
Okay. Where you can.
So there's certain things where I prefer the original. Specific scenes. Mm-hmm. There are certain scenes where I'm like, yeah, I like the original's take on it a lot more. Especially with like the direction of the voice acting, and
I feel like Maria is stronger in the original.
Yeah, especially with there's certain scenes specifically in the hospital.
I think I know what you're talking about.
Yeah,
I do.
You're about to go into the basement. You push over the bookcase and she comes out. Anyway, what do you mean anyway?
She's a lot more for how old the original game is, because it's like 2001, I think. The emoting on the characters is so phenomenal. Like, I mean, 3 obvious, like I always say just upscale 3, it looks fantastic. And 1 it's still like, or sorry, 2, like I remember like you could see like the ticks in their faces, and just like you could see her getting really heated in that scene.
Yeah, Sato did an amazing job with the facial animations for the CGI. Yeah. He is just a legend in himself, especially with Silent Hill 1 and all the facial animations that he did with that one.
Yeah, and it's like even things like I was watching something about like comparing Eddie to like the original and the new game, and like things like it's something as simple as I didn't even notice when I played the original is when he's vomiting in the toilet when you first see him, he like looks away from James in the original, like looks over and then like looks away from like the subtlety. It's
that was like a big thing with the original. It's like the overall subtlety, and that's one thing I miss in horror is subtlety. But I'll get it. That's a whole other can of worms. But with Silent Hill 2, there's just certain scenes that I definitely can appreciate the artistic value of the way they were animated and the voice work that was done for specific scenes. And also the Eddie pizza scene, I am appalled. They didn't fully commit. I'm really upset about that. How can you sit there and eat pizza? Where did that go? I know it was an additional thing and they're still in there, but they didn't fully commit and I'm upset. But
there's a few, I agree fully with you with Maria. Like I remember when I saw that scene where she shows up and you know the anyway scene, and when I was playing it on like my first playthrough, I was like, I think she's stronger in the original. I think I like original Maria significantly better. And I don't think there's no flaw in the or on the art on the actress.
Yeah, she did an amazing job.
Yeah,
and like with what she was given, she did a great job. I think her Mary is very strong.
Yes. Yes.
She did a wonderful job with Mary. Maria, specifically we'll go back to the storeroom scene, where it's like, well, anyway, I'm glad that you're okay. And there's like this slight pause. And I know it's like the pausing was unintentional, but the pause before where she kind of like thinks about it and then she just outbursts. And like that is like one thing I really like, but in the remake, it's immediate. It's sudden. It's like very boom.
Yeah, and again, what you were saying about subtlety, it's like I just remembered that scene, especially like you could, while he's talking, they pan to her and she has her arms crossed and she's shaking her head like she looks pissed.
Yeah, like you can tell she's mad and like in her voice, it sounds really angry.
Yeah,
and not so much like sad.
The other scene I think that didn't sell as well for me was the cell scene.
Yeah,
it was like her trying to be too subtle.
Yeah, that scene specifically, they definitely redid the voice work for that scene compared to the trailer.
The final,
the final
I'm
version. I'm pretty sure they redid the voice work for that.
I think she was flatter in the the trailer.
Yeah, it just sounded. Remember that time in the hotel? Like it just sounded really weird. Which it sounded better in the remake, like in the final cut. I definitely liked the final cut a little bit better than what I heard originally. But comparatively from the original to the remake, that scene is so dependent on Maria's tone shift from going from Maria to Mary. And that subtlety in the tone shift is so vastly important because it's like a sharp, like, I'm not your Mary. And
that was the line I was thinking of in particular because it's very cold when she says it in the original. In the new one, not so much. It's just kind of like it I think the across the board, and again, no shade to the actress herself. It's all in the directing in this one.
Yeah, it's all the voice director that.
Yeah, so like I feel it was too flat the whole time. Like because you going in, you know what to expect. Like we went in, we knew what we were expecting. Like, oh, here's the scene. Let's see how. Like we already know what's going to happen. But if somebody coming in for the first time might not, I feel it kind of sells that scene short, and like what they're trying to convey to the player of like that you don't know who Maria is or what Maria is.
Well, it's also a scene where it's supposed like the voice changes are kind of like a confusion to James. Like he's like, "Aren't you Maria?" Like because she sounds like Mary initially.
Yeah.
Remember that time in the hotel? And it's like very floaty and flowery, and then all of a sudden it's just, I'm not your Mary. Like it's very angry and cold, and like the switch is just so. Oh, I love that scene.
It's a very good scene.
It's so good, but
again, want to go touch back on like the subtlety of her facial expressions too, in that because
even like her posture,
she sits up more straight when she's Mary, and like looks like the way she'll like look over, just a lot of things. Like you're right, like the CGI in the original, just they nailed the emoting for, and it always shocks me when I think of how old the game is.
Oh yeah,
it's like
like I said, Sato, like the amount of like care and work he would put into the facial expressions, like the body models, like even when he explained Maria and how she had like a little flab of skin coming over her skirt, and like like more real touches to being like, human. It's very obvious he's an art, like he's just very into the art and making it like perfect and in the way that you see the character and you understand what that character is or what their role is essentially. But and I mean, when it comes down to like, should someone play the original to the remake, I think the remake is fine for someone, if especially for someone who's never played Silent Hill games. The accessibility of Silent Hill games are absolute abysmal. Konami, please. I know Silent Hill 4 is now accessible. Fantastic. Now, Silent Hill 1, 2, and 3, please. Thanks. But I think the original has its place, and I would always recommend people check out the original regardless. It's like, please, just check it out. I know it's not the best. The combat's ass. It's not fantastic.
I oddly like the combat, even though it's ass. It's super jank, but I like the jank.
It's very jank. I like the plank animation. You run in circles. You're just wailing.
That's my favorite.
Yeah. Also, there's a few things I hope they add. I'm very excited to see if they bring Born from a Wish.
I hope they do.
I'm pretty sure they will.
I'm sure they will, because they've already alluded to it in the game. And I feel like I didn't play Born from a Wish originally, because my copy of Fire Silent Hill 2 is the original, like, first release in the States, like Black Bar and everything. So it doesn't have it doesn't have Born from a Wish. So I did manage to play Born from a Wish later on PC.
Yeah. Born from a Wish is cool. It's a very confusing first time playthrough when you go through it. Like the very first time, it's just like, huh? Like the ending is just kind of like, especially when like she's having the conversation with the guy on the other side of the door, and then all of a sudden the door opens, he's not there, and then it's just like, huh? What is going on? So it's very confusing, but I'm very excited to see how they reimagine those instances, and how, like, what they're gonna expand on it. It's probably gonna be,
it feels like, guess, I would imagine they're DLC. Yeah, maybe. I mean, maybe not. Maybe they'll surprise us.
I don't know.
I don't know. What I mean, because I do think that what I saw, one of the goals I think that Bloober had was they wanted to humanize Maria more, because with how much and I do appreciate that. That's why, like, those two scenes that we were discussing earlier are a little frustrating as somebody as people who played the original, and you could see like what kind, like how nuanced the character actually is. I think if they put that, and this is on Bloober, not the actors, if they put more care in trying to sell those same like emotional outbursts or reactions to the character, it actually would have been so much more serviceable to her character as a whole. Because when they spent, it was only those two scenes where I got a little bit like, I don't know if I like Maria. But then, because there are times you would go around like the Heaven's Night scene, which is great, or just like some of the banter that they would have. Like, I liked that they were really trying to, as a player going in, and in a way, when you play the original, because of just of how limited the technology was back then, and I imagine it wasn't that easy to have like banter while you're running around.
Well, and also it's like Maria in the original is just like, there's not really, you still kind of care about her to an extent, but at the same time, it's like they made in the remake a version of her that like make people want to care about her more and be like more of like, oh, I want to like when she dies, it's more impactful because
that's what I mean.
In the original, it wasn't as impactful, but it's like there's still it's still impactful in its own way, but it's like
right,
you didn't get that connection as much.
And I think that Bloober, they had the right idea with Remake, is that they wanted to expand on her character because as somebody like, going back to like what we were supposed to, and we both agree that this is a more accessible version to new players, and not just as like just finding the game, but also playing it would be a lot easier to get into than more it with in comparison to the jank of the old one. However, so what I think falls with those two scenes falling flat, it works away to its detriment for longtime fans. But I see those scenes where you do get to banter. She finds her old costume, and she gets to like the flirtatious banter between the two of them. But it makes you want to protect her. Where before
even at the end of the hospital when you reach the raining hallway, she's like, a stroll in the rain. Romantic. And I love like those small
I loved that scene actually. That one was cute. She goes out and she's like, isn't it romantic? And it's like, girl,
Maria, what are you talking
gonna die
about? Like, just humor me. Like I like those small little interactions with her because it's I think it's very like flirty and cute and like it makes her a little bit more.
She's very charming.
She has like
super
that charm about her that's like very, very nice to witness in comparison to the original that didn't really have much of that. But
are you saying she's got Riz?
She's got Riz. She's got Riz. Me.
And so like if Bloober managed to have those two same scene, those other scenes like deliver the same way, like as strong of an emotional reaction she had in the hospital, or the shift in tones in the prison scene or the cell scene being like a lot more pronounced like it was in the original, coupled with all of the changes to her character and additions, it would have been amazing. Yes.
It would have been fantastic. You can't always get what you want, right? But
no. And
I will say the two
modders are doing amazing things these days. Who knows?
Yeah, they already got the classic Maria outfit in there.
I saw.
Yeah.
And there's Naked James, of course.
Of course. I am not surprised.
I was gonna there's also the Mary pipe that was sent to me. Hold on, I gotta put this one in general. Did you see the Mary pipe?
I did see the Mary pipe one. Yeah,
Bryan needs to see it. Someone said it was sent to me last night in my chat. I'm like, oh my god. I regret not having the PC version just before that.
I'm looking for my wife.
I just put on audio clips when I was streaming where it just every now and again was just Danny DeVito. You bang my dead wife? Just every chance. God. Yeah.
I will say, outside of Maria though, James, the voice actor for James and the mocap for James, and as well as Angela, amazing.
Angela was very good.
I specifically like Angela's section and how they expanded on that was so perfect. Like I feel like it showcased exactly what Angela was going through and expanded on her story a little bit further. So it's more understanding, but it's not smothering it into your face, but it's like
I was a little worried about Angela, if I'm being honest.
She was the one I was most worried about.
Yeah, because Bloober, I did play the medium, and
the narrative side of things, they're not fantastic.
My god, there's so much in that. We're not even gonna get into that. I can't. That one, I remember when I found it on Steam and I was like, oh, Bloober did this, it looks kind of like Silent Hill. Akira Yamaoka worked on it. Oh shit, like, and it felt like a Silent Hill game, so I was like, okay. And
it's because he did the music for it.
Yeah,
so
he did the music.
He didn't really touch on anything else because he's always just been like the music sound effects kind of guy and producer roles, and not.
Well,
so
that was
much.
actually like primarily why I wanted to check it out, because I love his work.
Oh yeah,
And-
he's an absolute amazing artist in music and everything. Every soundtrack he's ever made has always been a banger.
Agree.
And just very well done. And I could listen to a lot of his soundtracks over and over.
Yeah.
Again.
So I played the medium, and I played
Yeah.
Layers of Fear. And yeah, no, I don't either. One thing I will say about Bloober, and I feel this way because I know that they have announced their new original IP, Chronos. I can't say I'm super excited about it because Bloober can make a pretty game.
Key art looks sick. I'm not gonna lie.
It looks sick. All of their stuff looked sick.
True.
Oh yeah.
But this was not their original work. This wasn't their original story, and that's where I'm like, oh, we've already seen what they've done with their original writing. Like, we'll see. I'm gonna give it a chance.
Yeah. I think where they fall is the narrative writing around mental health.
Yes, and that's why I was worried about Angela.
Yeah. It was like that was the biggest thing when it came to Bloober when it was announced that Bloober was taking the role for making Silent Hill 2 remake. I was like, I'm cautiously optimistic.
Yeah.
I
was such a hater in the beginning.
I was cautiously optimistic the entire time. I was like, you know what? I'm gonna give them a chance because this isn't their story to write. They're not they're not taking creative liberties in the narrative sense. Like they took a few, but it's not, it wasn't bad. They just added a few minor things, but overall it's like the base is there. They just need to make sure they work around it and build upon it that isn't a complete crapshoot. They did fantastic, but
they did a great job. Yeah. I was the most worried about her in particular, and it seems, though someone pointed it out on my stream, I didn't really notice it because I wasn't paying attention. Was during the staircase scene with her, is they took away the fourth wall break, where she's not looking at the player anymore; she's just looking at James.
Yeah. Oh, they took out a few things. There were. She asks for the knife back. That's not in there anymore either. James, give me back that knife. And then he says, no, you're probably saving it for yourself. And no, I would never, or whatever.
I am glad they took that line out, though.
It's a little silly. There's a few things that they took out that were kind of silly.
They did the same with Eddie too. When after Eddie's fight, they took out the line, "I killed another human being." Which, I'm very glad they took that out.
That as an achievement.
Oh, did they? I didn't even notice.
One of the achievements, let me double check. And one of the achievements is absolutely just called human being. Yeah, human being kill Eddie.
That's hilarious. That's absolutely hilarious.
Yeah. So I think that the things that they did take out, I think was fine. The things that some of the things, I was a little upset about that pizza scene.
I know, I can tell. No, it's heartbreaking. Instead they gave him ice cream.
Apparently my audio sounds doubled. Sorry. I'm just letting you know, Bryan. Oh, he's back. Hi, Bryan.
Sorry, I was just double checking something.
Apparently my audio's doubled.
Yeah, I can't tell. I've just listened to it on my phone. I'll look into it, but continue to talk.
Okay.
In fact, I have something to add.
Sure.
Whilst I haven't played the game, I did watch, of course, a lot of Kat playing it. And I think it's reasonable to say that at one point or another, the three of us, have experienced at some point or another some kind of mental health crises, or we've been through the ringer at some point. During those scenes, I noticed Kat would occasionally like wince and things like that. And I would as well. Obviously, she couldn't see me because I'm just some text on the screen. I found those scenes to be incredibly relatable. I found them to be... I saw a lot of her in me in those moments where I've had mental health crises. And I think they have gone to extraordinary efforts to make sure off the feedback of their previous games not to fuck that up.
Well, that's what I'm saying. That's what I was trying to say with Angela is like I've been open about my own experiences with stuff similar, and I have PTSD, and it's like that is something like I was like, oh my god, please don't fuck this up, because that's why I referenced the medium, because it's like, I already know how much they dropped the ball on that, and that was my concern. I do think they did a great job. Her erratic behavior is very
I felt
pretty accurate.
when the scene after you kill Abstract Daddy, where she falls to her knees and she's like, I hate you. That I've been there. I've been in that exact position, screaming the same thing, crying my eyes out. I feel like I've just seen like definitely a lot of myself in Angela, especially like a lot of my childhood trauma past and a lot of things that I've been through. It's like I can relate a lot in that instance, and that's why it's like you said, it's like that's like the biggest concern where you're like, please don't fuck it up, please.
Because it's already so easy to fuck things like this up. Like, and I guess from what I understand, the actress worked with mental health professionals in order to get some of the reactions correct.
Yeah.
And I don't know if that's true. I didn't look into it personally, but
I believe it.
I believe it. That's what I'm saying. It's like I didn't really feel the need to go look into it, because it's like, I mean, if that's true, then I mean it shows, because she
she had like a lot of in her mannerisms and in her like the subtle mannerisms and how especially when Angela's like, you probably found someone else, and James is like raises his voice and no, and she immediately just, I need to go find my mama. It's like that trauma response of like I need to go find my comfort now. Angry man yelling at me, oh god, need to go. I think that was really well done, and she just did a fantastic job, and I feel the amount of hate around the character specifically not being bangable and whatnot is just so tragic.
That very rationally irritates me. I get very irate when I see any of the discourse around like her not being hot enough, and it's like, first off, she looks her age.
She's 19, guys.
She's 19. She's 19, and like, I don't know, maybe because I think I was 10 or 11 when the original came out. And so like 19 to me was at 11 sounded like an adult. I'm in my 30s now, dude. She looks 19. She looks like a 19-year-old who's been through some shit. And the one difference is that in the original, they had her voiced by a 40-year-old.
Yeah.
And
she also looked a little bit older in the original. So a lot of people get mistaken when they first play the game and they don't know anything about Angela. They originally think, oh, she's like 30 or something.
Yeah.
But it's like, when you go through so much trauma and bullshit and whatnot, you go through a lot of pain and suffering and mental anguish. It's like, you're probably going to age physically, like with how you look and how you talk, and everything's just going to be a lot older looking.
Not gonna be at the top of your skincare game. Sorry, guys.
Like you're the skincare who she, like, we don't know her.
Skincare talk wasn't there yet.
Yeah, exactly, right.
No, but you're right. It's like because I've seen a few like more than my share of like posts in regards to her visuals in it, and it's like, oof. You just get like the twitch, the muscle twitch, like, oh my god, I want to die.
It's like whiplash. Every time I read something that's like the criticism around her is it's just whiplash every single time, and I'm like, why are you like the same reasons a lot of these people are complaining about the way she looks and everything. It's basically like her story, just like all these men are like in her life that are sexualizing her dad, her brother, and everything.
Mhm.
And now these people on Twitter are sexualizing her.
Thanks for nailing hammering it home, man. It's just like, god damn. Yeah, because like, it's clearly we don't understand. Like, it's like she shouldn't look. Like looking doesn't say anything about whether or not someone's a victim or a survivor. So
yeah, exactly. So I think the way she sounded,
I think
the
she
way
looked.
she looked, she was perfect.
Yeah, I think no notes.
No notes. Yeah,
no notes.
She nailed it. She did fantastic, and I applaud her for her role. And yeah, as like there's just the details too in that section, like her little hideaways and like
her hideaways
with her bear.
I didn't see until like last night. Saw someone. There was a screenshot. I guess like her nails are bitten too.
Mm-hmm.
I didn't notice that. I don't really zoom in on hands.
Well, it's like a minor detail that it's not really something you have to really look close.
Well, it's like James's fingernails get progressively dirtier. Like
and he also looks progressively tired, more tired along and everything.
Especially at the way end.
Yeah. With the details with Angela, yeah, it's like one of those things where you had like people only knew about that because they zoomed in, like they took a free camera and looked at her model. But they did add like a lot of really good touches, like with like progressing through like the halls, and it's just like the skin like bed sheets on the walls with
it was getting very meaty in there.
It's been very meaty, and like the abstract daddy model was just, I love Masahiro Ito. He is such a
it was very unsettling.
He is just such an amazing creature artist.
Can I say though, because when I played on my first playthrough, I don't know if you thought the same thing, but when I got to the hotel, I was like, is there gonna be just abstract daddies everywhere, just like in the original? And I'm so glad they got rid of them.
Yeah, it didn't really make much sense in the original, because like those are that's Angela's monster, so to speak.
Yeah, because I remember in the hallways there was a few, like a 2 or 3, and that was the first thing that I asked when I got to the hotel. I was like, is there gonna be abstract daddies here? Like, oh boy. Yeah. And well, going back to like good changes, like I think that's a good change.
Oh yeah. I definitely think that was a good change. Also, that would have been really annoying.
Yeah.
Halls. It probably wouldn't have worked.
Could have taken up the whole hallway.
Basically, right? So it's like it didn't really make much sense to like. It probably would have just been very annoying to deal with. The nurses being in there, it made sense because there was an infirmary in there.
Yeah. Well,
I was like still kind of like, why are they here? But also, you don't want just line figures, I guess.
One shortcoming I feel, and it's not. I'm not going to put too much blame on Bloober for this because it's like it is a full remake. The lack of enemy type, the lack of variety was very stark, because of how much longer this game is in comparison to the original. Yeah. And I appreciate the attempt to like make different variations, like the lion figure, like in the other world, how the
nurses had their different variations.
Yeah, she had like a scalpel.
Yeah, she has like a knife or whatever.
But like it's very not.
But I feel the thing is that in the original, there wasn't really a whole lot of monsters to begin with.
No,
like mandarins. There was mandarins, line figures, nurses, mannequins. If I already said that, I'm not sure. Abstract daddy and the creepers. Of course.
The original though, like I think because the game was so much shorter.
Yeah,
it wasn't so obvious and obviously we're talking about technical limitations in comparison, where
limitations and also like disc limitations, and also the fact that at the time
we're not going to be as hard on it.
Shorter games were not really much of a bad thing at that time. Like 10 hour experience. It's just that was cool.
I was actually surprised when I saw that this game, when it first came out, and like the like I guess the estimated time was going to be 16 hours. I was like, girl, what?
Yeah, I was pretty surprised. I was like, well, they must have like expanded quite a few things. Like,
I just remember getting to the hospital. I'm like, this place is fucking huge.
yeah, they changed that area significantly.
I know.
And then they added the other world part of the hospital on top of that, which I got lost for a while, and that
Me
turned out to be the
too.
shortest part. Once you know the answers to that puzzle box,
Yeah.
it's gone.
I got so lost. I remember at one point I'm like, what am I supposed to be doing? Follow the chains. What chains? Where?
Yeah, it took me a moment to realize. I'm like, oh, I'm following. I looked. At
Yeah,
the
it took
box
me
real
way
quick.
too. It took me way too long to. And I'd like to admit to notice that. However, again on good changes and the prison.
Yeah. Oh, the prison. The prison was interesting. I liked the changes. The ritual monster was he was shoved into a corner that you don't really know until you get to the winged dove area. uh that's like the one section you hear it, whereas in the original, because the prison was so much smaller in the original, that you'd go down that one hallway quite a few times, so you'd hear the ritual quite
I always shot him.
frequently. So like you go into that one area and you hear like I remember I had found it because I was like walking down a hallway and all of a sudden I heard it and I was like, where is it? Where is it? I hear it. Where is it? So I go over and I'm like staring down this hall and I'm like, do it. Ritual. Yeah. I got so geeked out about it. But I remember watching one of my friends and she was just like, oh, it's a darn shame. Like they didn't add like the ritual guy. And I'm like, no, they did. And she's like, what? Where? So I had to like guide her to where to find it. Whereas in the original,
I did find him in my first playthrough and I got pretty stoked on him too. Cause like, I think when I was going through it, I was on edge the whole time. I'm like, where is he? And especially because like the old game with the same technical limitations with the camera being fixed, you don't see it. So I was kind of wondering, like, are they going to show what it actually is? And
that would have been really silly if they did.
No, I'm glad they didn't. I'm very glad they did.
Why? Because they could have done a similar thing. Because when you go down those hallways in the original, James is looking at something, and he's got like the head tilt of like looking at something, but there's nothing there. But you can hear the shuffling of the feet, and then you just hear the voice, and it's just like, what is that? You don't know what it is. And now in the remake, it's in behind a bunch of garbage, whatever crap, behind a door, I guess. Which is fine, because I think it's still a little creepy when you go into that, like when you go to crawl underneath that hole and all of a sudden you just hear the ritual and you're like, what the hell is this?
Yeah.
Wait a second.
I think every time because you can aim still at it and you don't know what it is because it sounds like a man when you shoot it. Just like not a monster, just a man.
Yeah, it just sounds like a dude.
Joke's on James. You did kill another man before Eddie.
He did kill another human.
My James did. He killed another man.
Yeah, no, the prison was good. It was definitely a lot more than I thought it would. And then they also they put the hangman puzzle at the end of the prison instead of being after Angela.
I think it suits it more.
It makes more sense. I mean, even if you were to play the original, there's like the platform with the noose.
Well, I like that they took it out of the labyrinth. I love the changes they made to the labyrinth. It doesn't feel like a slog to get through anymore.
No, it was good. On a casual playthrough, it was really good. I like the labyrinth. They added the mandarins in there, and then they also made it. They definitely expanded on the labyrinth, because in the original, the labyrinth was just like go down ladder, go into water, turn the puzzle, talk to Maria, go do other things. I will say though, I'm a little disappointed, and I get it. I understand. You don't get to go get the great knife. You don't.
They brought it back. You do kinda
there, but you don't get to keep it.
I said the same thing.
Swing it. I was like, oh, can I attack now? No. No.
Yeah, I mean, I think they acknowledged I was pretty useless, but
I mean, it makes sense because, like, honestly, that thing is that where's James realistically? Where is James gonna put that in his inventory?
yeah, I do like how they utilized Pyramid Head though in the second second, I think it was, where like you actually get to go to his room, and like
Yeah.
how he was kind of stalking you. Like there was like one of them, I remember I went down the ladder
Mhm.
and he was standing there looking at me, and I was like, oh, I got back up, and I went back up and he was already gone.
Yeah, so the wire cutter. Well, when you go into that initial, you go beyond the wall where the great knife would be in the original. He would just be standing at the gate, at the bars, like behind the bars. He'd just be standing there with you. Like, some people missed it, but like I noticed it. I was like, "Oh, hello, Pyramid Head. How are you doing? I didn't notice you were just staring at me there." And then again, they do it where after you cut the wires and you go down the ladder, he's just standing there, and it's just like he's standing there menacingly.
Yeah.
But it's cool
I
that
like
it's
that
like,
they added him more in there, because like I was worried about before leading up to release that they were going to make him into a stalker type, like
yeah,
Resident Evil, and my controversial but brave opinion is I hate them.
stalker types. Yeah,
Yeah, because like they're scary in the
they
beginning,
have
but
their
like
purpose.
they do, but a lot of it's very difficult, I feel, to find that
Yeah.
where the balance of where it's too much and too, like I remember when, like, I'm going to reference the medium a lot because it is still Bloober,
No, you're fine.
and I forgot what the monster was, it because it was a stalker type. And I remember, like, at the way end of the game, it's when you're going through like the sewer, whatever the fuck, I can't remember. I drank a lot back then, so I was
fine.
probably
I don't really remember. I played the
no, I'm like
so
legitimately don't remember because I might have like been too
I
drunk to
remember
remember.
bits and pieces, and I remember the dual camera was messing with me.
Oh
too
my
much.
god, I
wasn't a
hated.
fan.
Yeah, I wasn't a fan of that. Ironic they tried to patent that. No, go
Yeah,
ahead.
it was
Whatever.
awful. I don't
No
know.
one's taking that
performance
idea.
was terrible on the
Yeah.
tape, so
Yeah, no one's stealing that idea, Bloober. But anyway, I remember the monster came in, and like I was like trying to open the pathway, and he came in because he would like mutter to himself, and I remember hearing him like, "Oh my god, get out of here, go away! I am tired of your shit." And I did that with like with Mr. X in Resident Evil 2, and I like Resident Evil 2 remake. I think that's a fantastic remake. But I think it was like the way in when he like is pounding on the glass. I was like, oh, girl.
yeah, okay, I see. All right.
Someone needs attention.
No,
So I'm glad they didn't go that route. I was worried because he's already such a character, like he's been so overused as it is.
I don't even want to get into that.
Yeah.
The amount of times Pyramid Head shows up and he's not supposed to be there to begin with is just astonishing.
Let's give him a combat knife and put him in Resident Evil or Silent Hill 5.
Yeah, it's like, oh well, okay.
Oh no, but it's not Pyramid Head, it's the Butcher in Origins.
Yeah. And then there's also
There's another one. The Boogeyman.
Downpour.
The Boogeyman. Yeah.
And the big old club and that was. I hate Downpour. I'm not a huge fan of Downpour.
Downpour's the only one I didn't play.
I'm not a huge fan of it. I got my reasons.
No, it's.
I mean, people.
I never beat Homecoming.
Homecoming I beat on PC with the crashing.
Oh.
I was just like, I'm gonna play it on PC, and I know exactly. I'm gonna count how many times it crashes. It crashed like I think 40 something times. It was agonizing. That game. I ended up buying that game on Xbox. Because I was just like,
I have it on Xbox. Like my brother and I bought it like back when it came out, and I remember
it's way better on Xbox.
It is, and I have it on PC because I was gonna force my husband to go through it. It's like now you played a good one, now you get to play a bad one.
Yeah, but yeah, like you said, like with Pyramid Head showing up in random places when he shouldn't be, it's like, okay, but I wasn't too concerned with Pyramid Head. I
remember there was like the the rumor or the report that they were gonna have him show up more, and I was starting like I personally got a little bit concerned, like, oh shit, they make him a stalker type. It's just it might take away all the
Yeah. I think they added him in, like the
agree.
more that the more so that they added him was definitely fine.
I like the little moments where you would kind of pop up and just walk away, because I
Yeah.
that's what I was hoping for, is that he would like actually stalk you but not touch you.
Yeah, I still love that they kept the yeah, and also that's because like the psychological horror thing behind it. I think that's really cool. But I love that they kept the where you go into through the apartments and you're walking down this hall and
Yeah.
you just see him standing behind this gate glowing in red, and it's just like I wasn't even scared. I was just like, there's the boy.
There's my boy.
There's my
The boy's there.
How you doing? Oh, it's good to see you, buddy. I missed you.
So
I got really excited for that part too. I think I was like, "There's my boy!"
Yeah, no, that was fantastic. Now, the Pyramid Head was great, and the double Pyramid Head fight was just as frustrating as the original. I remember, especially on hard mode.
Yeah, I can
It's so
imagine.
annoying on-
I like how aggressive it was, though.
It was very aggressive. They had to like delayed attacks and stuff too. They got a few extra things, and even with I think the most frustrating fight on that game on the remakes. One second.
the cat's catting.
I have the cats are getting onto things they shouldn't be getting on. The most frustrating fight in the remake was probably Mary,
Yes.
but it was only because of the item pickup interactions. Is so bad.
Because you have to get it right at the sweet spot.
Yeah, you have to look at it at a certain angle. That's my one complaint, like my one biggest complaint gameplay wise through the entirety of the remake was just the item interactions.
Yeah,
like,
it's pretty bad.
specifically during combat sections is just it's so infuriating when you're trying to pick up a heal or you're trying to pick up some ammo and you just get backshotted. You're like, please, why?
Yeah, there was a few points because it was
Yeah.
because I imagine because you've played it more times to know kind of have that muscle memory for picking up things in a hurry. But when I was doing oh yeah, because I remember when I was doing the my second playthrough, which was when I did New Game Plus, I was trying to get under 10 hours, and I'm not a speedrunner. Like, it's just I have a bad habit of getting I'm directionally challenged. And I'll just the amount of times I'll be like, oh yeah, I got this. I remember, and I'll still turn down the wrong way. So it's like,
oh, when I was first learning the run, like routing and everything, I was doing that a ton. There were so many instances where I was just like, wait, no, I'm going the wrong way. Fuck, go.
Yeah.
Turn around.
But it was the prison in particular where I was like,
yeah.
I remember I was like, oh fuck, because I didn't really remember too much of the prison because it was so much bigger that a lot of especially when I was in the second floor, I remember, and I was like, where's the stairs? How the fuck do we get? And they're like, I can't remember. I think it was after the shower. But all I know is with the item pickup, it's I'm just gonna go in and I'm gonna get it and get out. And the amount of times those mannequins would just knock behind me, and it's I love and hate those mannequins.
Oh, they made them way more aggressive in the remake. It is werewolves versus puppies. It's night and day change on from classic to remake. It's the classic.
They scared the crap out of me. They scared the crap out of me way more often than I'd like to admit.
I love that they made them kind of spidery in the prison section.
Yeah.
They made them kind of like spiders, and I was like, oh no. Oh no. No, they're crawling on the walls now. Everybody duck and cover. Gotta run around the corners.
Then they just slingshot themselves at, or it was awful.
As soon as I hear their little noises, I'm just like, dodge, dodge spam. They can't catch me if I keep dodge spamming. And
they'd still get me. They get me right in between. You're like, how'd you do that? I threw my gum.
Not allowed to do that. Yeah.
So
No,
a quick question before we head to break then is obviously you remarked that one of the games that you played previously had awful PC performance. What would you say the PC performance of Silent Hill 2 Remake is like? Is it good? Optimal? Buyer beware?
It's so for me, I had no problems personally, but I know a lot of people have been dealing with PC issues with like the performance specifically
I
on
heard
the
that too.
game, which is it sucks. It sucks a lot. Literally I had upgraded my PC specifically for this game because I saw the recommended specs and I was like, all right, time to future proof my PC real quick because I do not want to deal with it. So I haven't had any issues.
What are you rocking currently?
I have a 4080 and an i9 14900K, 32 gigs RAM, and yeah. So I went with a very beefy PC for this remake specifically, but so I haven't had any issues. But there is performance mods on Nexus, which is
That's
great.
good.
So for anybody who's listening, if you have performance issues with Silent Hill 2, but if you want to give it a whirl, there are some performance mods on Nexus mods. This is for PC specifically, but yeah, Nexus mods. Check it out.
How about you, Paul? Because you've got more of a mid-tier rig, I would say.
Because right now, because I'm not working right now, so I need to save up for a PC. I just, whenever I'm not positive if my computer can handle it, I have a PS5, and I just bought it on PS5.
Right.
And I had zero issues.
Okay.
Yeah, I heard the console was perfectly fine. I do get some micro stutters on occasion, but that's not enough to like bother me.
No,
it's like when a new area loads in, there's like a little hitch, and I'm like,
I think I've had like a couple hitches every now and again, but not enough to complain about. And nothing that stuck out to me. The only thing, but yeah, like I did the same with like Wukong, Brian. Like if it's a game that I'm not sure my computer can handle, it's like, but there is a console variant, I'll be like,
which is a safe bet.
Yeah,
it's always a safe bet. Speaking of Wukong,
it takes a lot of slack.
Sorry, go on.
It takes a lot of slack off. No, I was just saying it also takes a lot of slack off my PC.
Of course. Yeah. Speaking of Wukong, watching Pulp be directionally challenged in that game is a thing of beauty. And if you haven't seen it, go watch her VODs because it's just amazing. Just watch her be lost in the woods or in the desert. It's fantastic. I
got really mad in that desert.
I bet.
I got really mad in that desert.
Obviously, when we discussed it previously, I had remarked that it could use a map, but watching you get lost was a beautiful, beautiful thing. But we're gonna jump to a break for around about 5 to 10 minutes, and then we will be back to continue probably for about another 30 minutes of Silent Hill 2 Remake spoiler casting, and then we'll talk a wee bit more about other games that we've been playing thereafter. So go get yourselves a drink, stretch your legs, have a tinkle, do all those things, and we'll be back. Mics will be hot, which is something that Cat might not be used to, so do beware. Oh, see you shortly.
Man, they're gonna hear all the terrible things.
They are, with the cats.
You're gonna hear me going to the bathroom.
Hey folks, just before we get into the second part of the show, this is editor Bryan here. There was some slight reverb that randomly appeared in the second half of the show on Cat's mic. I have tried to reduce it as much as possible, but there's only so much I can do, so if it does sound a little bit slightly echoey on her microphone, then my humble apologies. I will endeavor to ensure that doesn't happen in the future. But audio is complicated when you're doing shit live, so do please forgive. I'm very sorry. Please enjoy the show. And welcome back, everyone, to part 2 of the Fully Rendered podcast. We have got some more...
We have dog.
What? We have dog. We do have dog. I was like, what? Well, yes, we have Ray, of course, if you are one of the Twitch live enjoyers. If you're an audio listener, it sucks to be you. You don't get to witness the beauty that is Ray. But we're going to continue with our spoiler cast and talking more about Silent Hill 2 Remake. If you want to hear what was going on during the break and you weren't watching this live, do please check out our Patreon, patreon.com/fully rendered, where we talk about Pulp not owning a kettle, which is shameful, or it's in storage. I saw you getting ready to correct me. I see you. We
it's
talk
in
about
storage.
Ray.
I have one.
You have one. And now, Kat, important question. As someone who's part of the Commonwealth, do you have an electric kettle?
I do have an electric kettle.
She can stay on the podcast, everyone. It's fine.
It's right behind me.
Fantastic.
I have a mountain of tea as well.
Amazing. That is as it should be. So let's jump back in to the aforementioned meat and potatoes. That is Silent Hill 2 Remake. Now, obviously, prior to the break, you two had discussed a fair bit about the changes that they had made in one way or another. A lot of it was like thematic changes, graphical changes, things like that. Were there any changes that they added? Was there anything completely new that you weren't expecting and you thought, you know what, that's actually a fantastic addition to the game, especially in the context of discussing a remake, where more often than not, the conversation of it not being one-to-one faithful is often a point of contention, and, you know, something that a lot of people would, from what I've seen in conversations in the past, be quite unhappy about?
It definitely the Angela section in general, that's entirely new.
Right.
Like that whole section.
There's a scene in the park that they added.
There's a scene in the park where they talk about the Lady of the Light, which is not so much explained. It's not so much touched on in the classic. There is talk of the Lady of the Light, but not really outwardly explained. But I think that was a really cool little scene that they had there. So I agree. That one was good. I like that one.
That was a good scene. It was right before the Historical Society.
Mm-hmm.
Were there a lot of changes? A lot of things that they added to the game?
There was a lot of changes. But it wasn't like when I was playing through it the first time, I even expressed the idea of like there's a lot of changes, but I'm not mad. I actually like a lot of the things and a lot of the changes that they had done. Like a lot of areas reworked. There
was something that was removed that upsets me though. The can of light bulbs.
I thought you were gonna mention that. I was like, I do remember getting a little upset that there was no.
I was very salty. I was very salty about that.
Yeah, there's a can of paint, but no can of light bulbs.
Yeah.
There was the light bulb, but no can of light bulbs.
You dip the light bulb in the can of paint, and it's not the same.
They got rid of a lot of the weird puzzles. Like, a lot of the weird things that normally, like, when you think about it, can of light bulbs. What? Huh?
But
and then there's
you had to be there.
You had to be there.
You had to be there. It was very good.
Even with the prison section, they got rid of the wax doll with the horseshoe and the lighter.
They also changed the hair.
Yeah, they got rid of the
bent needle and the hair, and added like it was like a medical tube. Yeah.
So they changed that to medical tubes. But they still kind of kept the idea. They still kept the idea of like when you open the chained box, James has the same reaction of like, "What the hell? There's nothing in here."
Yeah. And they kept they kept my arm door. I was very happy about that.
Yeah,
I love that arm door.
Yeah.
I love the arm door. It's so stupid.
It's so ridiculous. Like, how does that? You put rings on fingers, and apparently that opens a door. What?
Yeah. Also, James, he's a lot more open to putting his hand in some holes and glory holes.
Lots of hands and holes.
A lot of glory holes in this game.
Lots of hands and holes. Lots of jumping into holes. Like a lot more than the original. The original, there was.
It's a very whole game.
Time you really put your hand in a hole.
It was.
Apartment.
Well, there's a toilet too.
Well, they kept that one. But when I'm thinking about hands and the holes in the walls,
yeah, it was the moth room.
Yeah, the moth room to get the clock arm.
Which I think that's not even in the remake. He doesn't put his arm in a hole in the moth room anymore.
Oh, he does.
He does?
Yeah. So you do the moth puzzle, and then in that room is like the hole with the green slime on the wall. That's the one. They kept that room exactly.
Oh wait, yeah, you're right.
They just added a puzzle.
There's so many. I'm sorry, Kat. There's so many holes.
There's so many holes. I know. There's so many holes. He's a holy man, you see.
So I asked about good changes, and you guys are like, yeah, there's loads of holes. So I don't know how I feel about you two right now. James fisting holes, jumping into holes, all this on.
You had to be there, Brian.
You just had to be there.
I had to be there for the fisting, did I?
I like that they added the ability to break windows. It's so stupid,
Oh!
but I love it.
You're just a straight up vandal. The whole when I first learned you could do that, I went to every single window I could. It's just like I gotta test this one. You never
And I
know.
like that it counts how many windows you smash. It counts how many windows you smash, and it counts how many times you tried to open a locked door.
I also felt very called out when it told me that my first playthrough, I think I got like over 1,000 checking the map, and I'm like, I don't need this right now. Okay,
Being
I
called
don't
out.
need you.
It straight up calls you out. It's just like, hey, by the way, I noticed you were checking your map a lot, which I liked. Okay, I'm gonna geek out about the maps real quick. So when
That he writes in them.
like I love his little writing in the notes. I love
love
that. But specifically the details of the map. Specifically, when
Oh my God.
traveling through the different areas, the hospital, other world, things get soaked in like water.
Yeah.
And like where you've explored, it gets soaked in water.
That-
and then like
that was a good
fabric
detail.
getting drawn out. Like
Do you want to know my favorite? Like the one moment I was like, this game, it's got me by the boo boo. He writes the codes in the map.
He does write the codes on the map.
I was like, James, you're a man after my heart. You wrote code. I bet this man treats his wife right. He's the kind of guy who treats his wife right.
I don't remember. My memory is shot. So I'm gonna write this down. And then when I check the map, I'm like, oh,
I'm the person who like I'll just keep saying it out loud multiple times. It's like
I do the same even during my runs. So in the original Silent Hill 2, there's a lot of RNG to the puzzles. Specifically in the hospital for the chain box. There's the two numbers for the turn the number and the padlock. So those two are RNG. So you have to go to the area where you find them in the padded cell and the carbon paper. And so every time I'm on my way to the chain box, I'm just like 3962 3962 3962. Yeah. And I try to sing it to myself so I remember it. Otherwise I'll forget.
I just like I'll keep reciting it to myself, and then as soon as I'm faced with having to put it in, I'm like, I forgot it.
Yeah,
it's gone.
Yeah, I get that. I've definitely been there. But I definitely love the little attention to detail to the maps and stuff like that.
Pulls out. You see him pull out his map. It's
a little marker like right now.
I love it.
An additional thing with the maps and everything. As someone who's played the original a bajillion times, I have like almost I think like 1,000 hours in that game.
Damn,
it's a lot. So I've spent countless times in there. I know exactly where to go, what to do, where everything is. I don't have a problem in the original. It was so refreshing to play the remake and not know where to go. I knew what I needed to do to an extent, but they added all these like new things, reworked areas to the point where I'm like, I don't know what's happening. I have to check my map.
Yeah.
So I was checking my map constantly. So I'm like, I don't know where to go. And that was really refreshing because I was like, I'm really glad and like happy I don't know where I'm going.
I kind of did too. When I played it the first time, I just couldn't stop playing it. I almost like played it in one go. I had to take breaks though.
Yeah, it was long.
It was very long, but like I kept wanting to go back. I would stop playing. I'd be like, oh god, I just want to go back. It's so good. And I liked seeing the new thing, like going into the apartment and not knowing where everything is again. Like it was cool. Like everything was like all switched around on me, and it was like it felt like playing a brand new game again, even though I knew like what we were supposed to do, what was going to happen.
No, I need the 3 coins for the coin puzzle. Okay, we got the 3 coins. Okay,
but it's right at the beginning.
Yeah, so it's like you kind of know what you need. But then, like the additional things that they added, it's just like, what do I need now? Where am I going now? But the bracelets and the hospital, those are new.
The whole director's section.
Yeah, the whole director's room is completely new, which is nice. I liked it.
Yeah, me too.
What was I gonna say? I was gonna die. Sorry.
Oh my god.
It's all good.
I'm okay. We're good. I liked the one thing that pops out to me is the labyrinth where they added the like hands and the mannequins like waving the little portal looking thing.
Oh yeah.
I thought that was really cool. That was a really neat design that they added.
The whole labyrinth, I think they really nailed it because every like I like that the head puzzle, like it was actually like yeah, the turning head looked like having it right behind you could see it moving instead of it just being a room was a really
So in the original, when you're turning that head, the room actually turns as you're turning the head, which is really cool. And it's a detail that you wouldn't know unless you unlocked the camera and looked into that room while you're moving the puzzle.
really.
But it was nice to be able to see the puzzle moving. So it was like the same thing, but you could actually see the room.
I feel like though,
moving.
because it was more like a house than anything. It was its own like separate entity away from that head that it was connected to, and it felt more fantastical when I saw it. Where it's like, oh shit, it's not a room anymore.
Yeah, it's not like its own space, and there's like it's literally a labyrinth inside of the box, which is cool.
Yeah.
I thought that was neat. Instead of just being an empty room with holes in the wall, like door holes in the wall. Okay, which one is the door? Oh, there's the door. I need to go out, and I need to put that somewhere. I'm not sure where. I need to put it somewhere. So I thought that was nice. It made it a lot better to traverse and understand where it in the original, that puzzle was a pain in the ass because you turn it, and you go into the room and you check. Oh no, okay, go back to the the head, turn it some more. So I thought that was pretty nice that they were able to make that a visible thing.
So perhaps one last question to round this all off then. Slightly somewhat circling back to the fact that this is a remake, and obviously I touched on earlier that more often than not you see people quite upset when things are changed within remakes. Personally, I've always been of the belief that it's fine to add things to a game or add things to a movie adaptation, whatever form of adaptation compared to the original material, as long as what you're adding is definitely better. I prefer things to be one-to-one, and then they're filling in the gaps rather than trying to make changes because they're trying to outdo the writers, or they think that the new people writing it think they can write it better. Would you say that Bloober overall have done a very good job of being both faithful, but when they have added things, for the most part, they have made positive changes?
Yeah. I find Bloober was very respectful with the entirety of the project because I think they knew deep down what they were working on was very special to a lot of people. And it's a very niche game that like it's a master class in horror, and a lot of people have taken inspiration from that game. But I think Bloober knew that if they changed too much, like if they changed the writing too much, or if they changed like specific scenes too much, people would have lost their minds, and they knew that. But they were also fans of the original. They were very, very much involved in like that's what inspired them to get into development for horror games. So it's like to work on a project like that, like fans basically working on that project, it's like they knew that they
it's
had
a lot
to
of pressure
keep it.
too.
Oh yeah, I'm sure it was stressful. Like, I would have hated to be a fly in the wall on some of those meetings, I'm sure. But I also would have loved to be a fly on the wall in some of those meetings.
Right, yeah, no, 100%.
Yeah, it would have great. But I can only imagine the amount of stress and worry for themselves to live up to the expectations of what Silent Hill 2 represents and what it is to a lot of people. But no, they did an amazing job. They kept it fairly one-to-one, but
yeah, they did.
Also, the changes that they did were not so it wasn't detrimental. It was like good changes that were respectful and fun. I think they were good changes. Like a lot of people were worried about the combat, but I mean the original's combat was awful. So the combat was fun. The dodging was cool. I thought that was fun. They made it they didn't make James into an action star. They didn't change him to a way where it's like he's like Leon Kennedy and he can do these barrel rolls and ninja kicks and suplexes and all this stuff. So they kept him very
Grounded.
much like just a grounded man who's just broken and looking for his dead wife. Like,
Right.
it's not like he's just an everyday guy, so to speak, a little bit of a psychopath. But they didn't change too much with that to an awful extent. It was fun.
I mean, you could see just like from the fan reaction from like way back when they were still revealing the game and there was the combat reveal
yeah,
and how people got upset thinking that it looked too combat heavy. Like, so I think, and I think they did good. And I'm not saying like, I was agreeing with what you were saying. Like, I think Bloober understood when.
I think what happened with that trailer specifically, I don't think Bloober wanted to reveal a combat trailer. I don't think they wanted to at all, because at the end of the day, Silent Hill 2 is not a combat game. It's not. It's a psychological horror. It's not a survival horror. It's a mix of survival horror, but it's at the end of the day, it's psychological horror. It's not combat focused. It's so I don't think Bloober wanted to show that off, and also it's very obvious that it was old builds and not at all what the final build.
You could kind of tell from like the hair. Like I remember like that was a big one. Yeah.
But I think Konami wanted to show it off more than anything.
Probably.
They probably got a bunch of reels, and Konami was just like, let's focus on the combat because people love combat. Resident Evil. But Bloober was probably like, no.
I'm inclined. I'm inclined to agree. I frequently read things from devs. Like I recently, and I'll talk about it later. Listen to the audiobook Play Nice by Jason Schreier about Blizzard. I watch documentaries from devs and stuff like that. And it's a frequent topic that marketing is completely disconnected from the devs. And the devs will be like, oh, you probably shouldn't do that. And marketing go, yeah, right. And then they do what they want. And the fact that they would have probably, been using dated footage that the devs had provided at some point. So yeah, I completely agree. That is very likely what happened.
I agree.
Marketing was just like,
I'm with you guys.
Action sells.
Yeah. It's a shame too, but I think throughout the promotional period of Silent Hill 2 Remake, it almost worked out in its favor in a way, because like it looked so bad that people were like, I'm gonna buy it anyways.
Like
and
subverted expectations.
Let's just like it kept the expectations so low
Mm-hmm.
that it blew everybody's mind of how good it was.
Right.
And like, it's not like perfect. I mean, no game is perfect, but it's like at the end of the day, it's like they still did an exceptional job, and like with everything that was shown prior, it's like it's like night and day difference of what I saw initially to what was shown during my playthrough, which I found out, this is a side note, but apparently PS5 versions on not patched, I think it was, some discs have the build from April.
Oh dear.
Really?
Yeah, so some discs have, I think, an April build with the old cutscenes, like a lot of like different angled cutscenes, a lot of different like textures and like lines and stuff like that. So there's like a lot of differences. I'm very curious to like, I wish I kind of want to get a copy of it just to see what exactly they changed.
I would imagine it's probably been patched out by this point, unfortunately.
I'm sure it probably has, but you could probably like get rid of patches, I'm sure.
Maybe,
to some extent.
You can, I don't know about on PS5 how to do it, but like I know you can. I've done that.
Yeah. I'd be very curious because I think that'd be really cool to just to see as like I love behind the scenes in development and like what goes into making games. Like I have worked in like QA development horror gaming in the past. So I find all that sort of stuff very
fascinating. Yeah,
very fascinating, just to see where they went from here to there, from the polishing stage. Because the polishing stages is like a lot of things
yeah,
change.
100%.
A lot of changes happen. But yeah.
How about you,
Yeah.
Paul? Do you think that overall they've done well and they've
Yeah,
managed to stay
and I
both
do.
faithful and add things in a positive way?
Yeah, I mean, like the most of my complaints have only been petty, if I'm
Right.
being honest. Like they're not really like anything where I would say like they're having any animosity towards like the developers. I think they did great. When changes that I don't like are like I said, they're just purely petty or like superficial. And I do sincerely hope that they are picking up the other games, 1, 3, and 4. Not
Yeah. Which
we don't
which
need
would you
anything
like to
else.
see
One
first?
One first. I agree. One first because I
do 3 then 1. It doesn't make sense.
it doesn't make sense. And also I didn't play 1 for like the first time I played 1 was like 2 years ago. I didn't have access to it. And like I said, 2 was my first one, and then I had 3. I just couldn't find 1, and I managed I was sent a PS1 copy. So same deal. I brought over my old fatty PS2, and I was like, let's fire this baby up, right? And I'm not somebody who I fall in the camp. I hate tank controls. So when I was playing through 1, I enjoyed it immensely. I thought it was a great game. I felt as dated as the game of it is, it needs the most help. It should, like, if they're going, meaning like to bring new players into it.
Yeah.
That or fix Eileen in Silent Hill 4. Please, for the love of God, please fix Eileen.
Let her do something.
Her AI, I swear.
Her AI, yeah.
It makes me lose my mind.
I thought you were gonna say something about what I said about like, Silent 1. I was like, did I see something wrong? And you're like, fix Eileen. It's like, oh, okay, good God, yes, please fix her.
Yeah, no, she drives me crazy in Silent Hill 4. But with Silent Hill 1, how long did it take you to do the piano puzzle?
Not that long.
A lot of people get stuck there, and it's very fun to watch. I love watching.
I got lucky. My husband played piano before, so he helped me a little bit. So I got lucky.
Right.
However,
husband
I did,
tax.
yeah, I didn't look it up. I phoned a friend. But
Can I have Kevin, please?
no, it's just hollering behind me.
Mhm.
But anyway, but with 1, because like I said, I never really liked tank controls already.
Yeah.
So like going in as a player, even though like I was a longtime fan of the series, it was my first time getting a chance to play it, and it's like I wish I had played it when I was younger, so I wouldn't have like I've already know like I don't jive with tank control. So for me, certain areas like the sewers in particular was just it was a nightmare for me. And I felt like
get lost there.
And I feel like it would be hard for me to recommend that game because of how old it is, and seeing how it always was the one that was passed, or like there was the HD remasters that we don't talk about, but that was still a thing, and 1 was not at all included in the mix. And Silent Hill 1, I think, needs like it started everything, and also that 3 is a sequel to 1. They need to start with 1, and I would love to see what they do with it. And I'm very impressed by Bloober, man. Like I don't take back what I said about the medium, but
I think there was talks of them saying that they want to do more Silent Hill games. Which I would not be surprised if Konami has already signed them, or if they're already working on a Silent Hill title.
I think it would be a very good move.
Have they announced sales numbers?
They're over 1 million copies.
They're over 1 million, yeah.
Okay, that was very
in 3
promising.
days, I think. But not only
horror,
that,
that's amazing,
I think,
actually.
yeah,
that's really good.
It's really good for horror.
It's not Resident Evil, but obviously, comparatively, 2 different things.
I feel, in my opinion, like this, if Bloober because like I feel like before this, Bloober didn't really have the best reputation as like not for being like making poorly developed games, just like their writing skills and not making the strongest games. And I think if they do pick up, and I do hope so Konami makes this decision. Fuck Konami no matter what. But if
True.
Konami does give the Silent Hill remake decides to remake all the original 4 from Team Silent to Bloober, I think it would do wonders for Bloober's reputation as a developer, because they've already they've shown themselves up with Silent Hill 2. So it makes me, and I'm just sure you as a fan of this franchise, I want to see them do the other games. I think they should do them. I think they did a great job. They handled this with a lot of TLC, and we could see like it would be great to see like I think Silent Hill 3 would be utterly terrifying.
I would love Silent Hill 3 is one of my absolute favorites.
It's my favorite. It's I love how claustrophobic it is.
I'm very curious to see what they would do with Heather, but
yeah,
and that and Claudia and all that, and Vincent, they look like monsters to you.
Yeah, Vincent's great, and I love 3. It's such a good game.
Mansion. Welcome to the Borley Haunted Mansion.
If they have, as long as they keep the cheese in his voice, because they did. That's where I was saying about like I have my superficial complaints is the game show.
The trick or treat. I forgot about that because in the speedrun we skip it now.
Oh yeah.
But the energy
is gone.
It's gone. I know we were talking about the other remakes of that. I forgot about that.
Yeah, that's what I was that's what I was referring to about having like very superficial, like kind of petty complaints. Like it's there, but like I loved it in the original. It's all the camp is gone.
Yeah. Yeah, the in the remake, it's like it doesn't have that like it was chopped into pieces with an axe.
Yeah, it's just like this. Very, all the energy's gone.
Yeah, now it's very like monotone, not super monotone, but
he's trying to sound creepy, and it's like, but he did. What made it creepy and unsettling was the fact that he wasn't trying to sound creepy. He was trying to make it like campy, like what you would see, like almost,
Jovial.
You know, like. Yeah, but what he was talking about was so unsettling. And I actually forgot about the Borley Haunted Mansion for a second until you mentioned it. I'm like, oh God, that I really hope that they match
the same sort of thing.
Yeah, I didn't even think about that until you just mentioned it. I'm like,
I think about it every time because it's my raid alert. Welcome to the Borley's Haunted Mansion.
That's
Please
so funny.
Step aside and look around. When you feel you're ready, then go through the door. Yeah,
good
so
voice.
It's definitely going to be another instance. At least with the Borley's Haunted Mansion isn't as like crazy, but it still has like an energy to it, which I'd be very curious to hear how they change that. But I'm also curious to see how they would expand on the Borley's Haunted Mansion if they do at all, specifically Lakeside Amusement Park, and how they would change that entirely. And certain monsters, I would love to not hear that loud screeching noise.
Oh, the insects. Those
the pendulums.
Yeah, I couldn't remember their name. Yeah. Oh my God, I hate that sound.
It's very loud.
Would like to see, because for one of 3, I've always said is the one that aged the best. It just looks so good.
Spectacular. Even on like the PC port of that game, you don't need any mods for it.
It just looks like
only
everything.
thing you need is a patch to stop it from hitching when you go into the menu. But that's it.
Oh, there you go.
like the game is gorgeous as is in comparative.
It's crazy to look at Silent Hill 3 still to this day. It was a PS2 game, and some of the fidelity, like the emoting in the characters' faces is better than what we see now.
Oh yeah,
it's crazy. And also like but like certain areas I would like to see more modernized, like the hospital Otherworld, where it's
oh my God, and the happy birthday scene.
Oh God, yeah.
Happy birthday, dear. Who are you? Yeah, that's that one would be fun to. That one's also some Leonard and everything. Just a lot of the characters are a lot more. I don't know how to explain like the characters per se. They're just more vibrant.
Yeah, there's a lot.
They're very
There's a lot of
close.
fanaticism in them,
Yeah.
so it kind of reflect like Vincent not looking at you, like his eye focus being in different, like whenever the camera was on him. Claudia's just being eccentric.
Yeah, and then the
And
fact that she has like no eyebrows, so it's like she looks more like, and like the reason they did make sure she had no eyebrows to make her not as expressive, but like
yeah, and I like it.
more creepy vibe.
And you're right, Leonard would be great.
Leonard, oh god, Leonard Schwimmer, that guy has ruined so many speedruns. I'm also curious on how they would do the scene where Heather finds Harry in the apartment. And he's dead, and then she finds the blood trail going up to the roof over from the fire escape. And then she sees Claudia with the missionary boss fight.
Mm-hmm.
That whole sequence, I'd be very, very curious to see how they go about it, specifically with the acting on Heather's part, because
Mhm.
Harry's just dead. Like, he's just lifeless. But like,
I would
Heather's
be surprised
emotions.
if they would add more scenes with Harry.
They probably would, because it felt so weird that, like, it's a
Even
direct sequel to Silent Hill 1.
Yeah, but he
Harry-
wasn't present at all except for his
It's just like
corpse.
the one phone call at the beginning that you don't even hear him. It's
So
just,
you don't. It
"Oh,
feels
yeah,
like
sorry, Dad, I forgot that thing you asked."
it's like a disconnected sequel in a lot of
Yeah.
ways. Even though they reference it a lot, Harry a lot, and you find like the notes and obviously Heather's motivations, but his death, it doesn't feel like Harry's present at all.
Yeah.
Just a distant memory.
There's like the notes and stuff that you find from him, and
But it's still like that distant memory, like almost it's just
Yeah.
so disconnected from his story that I would
Yeah.
like to see how they could kind of bridge the two games a little bit better.
Yeah, I think it would be cool to see more of Harry in Silent Hill 3. I would not.
I would love that.
See more.
I wouldn't complain either. I would love that.
It also depends on how they do Silent Hill 1, right? And how they portray Harry in Silent Hill 1, and how that transfers over into Silent Hill 3. Because I'm not sure how they're going to end.
I'm pretty
Silent
sure
Hill 1 is 17 years
Yeah.
in the past.
I'm pretty sure they wouldn't, but I would love it if they, for Silent Hill 1, if they remake it, just heavily lean in on that Twin Peaks dreamlike.
Ooh, yeah.
Like, because it is very dreamlike in the original. And
Yeah.
I don't think they will, because it seems like they kind of stepped away from it in Silent Hill 2.
Yeah.
And which
Well,
is
it's like
fine.
the vibes are totally different from Silent Hill 1, from Silent Hill 1 to 3 or to 2.
Mhm.
It's like a completely different vibe. Like, it
Oh,
feels
yeah.
more like spiritual in 1, and then in 2 it's like more of like personal instead of spiritual. It's still kind of spiritual in a sense, but it's like less so.
That would be my ideal, said to heavily lean in that Twin Peaks vibe.
Yeah.
To wrap this subject up then, overall 5 out of 7, a perfect 5 out of 7, 2 thumbs up, an IGN 2 out of 10, perfect game, go out and buy it. Is that what you say?
Yes.
Yes.
Yeah.
Cool.
I'd say play Silent Hill 2 Remake. If it's a problem where if you have performance issues, specifically on PC, there are mods, and hopefully they do patch it, fix it. But I highly recommend, if you're a fan, or if you've never played a Silent Hill game a day in
This is
your
a good
life,
one to
haven't
start
played
with.
Silent Hill like in a long, long time, I highly recommend you check it out. It's Bloober did an amazing. Even if you need to wait for a sale, I get that. It's still worth checking out at some point.
No notes. I agree with her.
Let's just play the game. It's fantastic.
I agree fully with her.
Fantastic. How are you both doing for time, by the way?
Probably gotta get going in a little bit. I have to run in a couple errands before my stream.
Okay. So what? 10,
I gotta get the dog ibuprofen.
about 10 minutes, 10, 15?
Yeah.
Okay. let's speedrun some of
Yeah.
this stuff. I'm going to give you both a chance to let your voices rest before we jump into what you've been playing and what you intend to do in the future. I wanted to talk very briefly about something that we've not really gotten to speak about on the podcast for a while, and that's a book. Yes, we talk about books. People read them. In my case, I listen to them. I'm an avid reader. I actually own around about 1,000 books, both electronically and otherwise. And I thought, oh, I haven't listened to anything in a while. And then Jason Schreier of Bloomberg, I believe, and Kotaku before that, and I think he's been at a few other publications. He's written a book regarding Blizzard and its history, and it's called Play Nice, something like subtext after that. But basically, he covers and interviews around about 350 people who worked at Blizzard from its inception, when it was actually named Synapse and something else way back when, all the way through to 2024. And it has been a very eye-opening experience. I highly recommend, if you're into like developer documentaries and such, giving it a listen, because they talk about not only the journey that Blizzard's gone through from being bought out by Vivendi and another corporation before that, and then being bought out by Activision and becoming Activision Blizzard, but also the transformations that have been occurring with changes in staff. For example, I think it's reasonable to say that we all noticed Blizzard kind of go to shit at a very certain point. And that happened to be when Bobby Kotick recommended that Blizzard, after 20 years of being a company, got a CFO, a chief finance officer. And it was someone that Bobby Kotick had recommended. And then suddenly there's this change in how the games are developed. They become more product focused rather than game focused or player focused first, and things like that. There's been some wild stories in this book as well, including the Blizzard reps flooding a hotel at the game's developer conference way back when, because they all got too drunk and vomited into a bath and left the tap on, things like that. So there's some pretty cool stories, but it's very eye-opening. It gives you a lot of insight in how they used to develop the games and how that has changed and the culture has changed and things like that now. If you haven't listened to it or read it, it's about $10 on Amazon. I got it through Audible. It's about 9 hours. And it's, like I said, absolutely fascinating. Do highly recommend that you give it a listen. And maybe we'll talk about it on the show if other people do decide to endeavor in that route.
Yeah, sounds good.
Yeah. Hope, what have you been playing in the last 2 weeks?
Well, I mean, last week was all Silent Hill.
Right.
So we already know about that. I've been kind of going through my backlog of horror games, because, like I said, since I'm still not working, someone hire me. But for Halloween, I wanted to focus more on like getting through like my backlog. So I've replayed. I've checked out Zero Protocol. That was pretty cool. I didn't get very far though, because I got lost. I've checked out Hollow Body,
Okay.
which is not super stoked on. I played the demo and I was very impressed by it, and a lot of the flaws that were from the demo were still present, so it was not very enjoyable.
It was impressive for a single dev game.
For a single dev.
Yeah, but I got a little bored. But
Yeah,
honestly, though, it was a pretty impressive feat for someone.
No. I don't want to shit on the game.
No, I get you. I felt
it's like I remember struggling in because I got just past where the demo ended, and I remember it was while I was playing through it, like a lot of the solutions for the puzzles just weren't very clear, and it was kind of hard for me, at least, to kind of like really get invested in what the story was. It's fine for what it is. I didn't finish it.
Right time.
And
it was bad, but I got
no, it's not bad.
It's
I
mid,
did
as
like
the kids say.
Yeah, I just don't want to be like super harsh on it, because it's actually kind of like it. I was impressed by the demo, and I guess like I was kind of
cool.
Yeah, I didn't. I guess as a full game, I guess it's like I felt like the demo satisfied me. If that makes sense?
Right.
I feel like there was something missing.
Mm-hmm.
I feel like there was just some things that were missing from that game, and I don't know exactly what, and I can't really say what, because I'm not an expert on like knowing what people should add entirely, but it's like it just felt like it was missing like a oomph, like a little extra something. But it wasn't bad, like inherently, like or like whatever. It
Yeah.
wasn't a bad game. It wasn't for me
Yeah.
personally.
A solid
And
first
speaking
game
of-
that you can build a foundation on with a new game thereafter.
I think like
yeah.
I don't think it needed to be a full game. I think the demo was serviceable.
Mhm.
And so it was an expand, like it didn't I don't know. But but when I did play yesterday, it was a demo from Next Fest, but because I was going through some Next Fest demos yesterday before I continued.
Mhm.
Tenebris Somnia. I had to look up the name because I couldn't remember it.
Right.
That was a really cool game that I checked out. It's all 2D graphics and then mixed live action cutscenes.
Oh, okay.
I thought very like hyping it, like very up it on like the cheese too.
Right.
Tenebris Somnia.
Oh yeah, I played that one. That one was good.
That was a good one. That I like.
Remake.
Yeah, I'm gonna get the full release
this entire time. I'm really excited for the full game.
Yeah, that one I was very, very, very pleasantly surprised. I checked out like a couple. I checked out Karma was another one, which it was all right. I'll still check it out. Then I had Fear the Time Loop, but like that one was just I think same deal. It's like I like the idea, but I wasn't super crazy about it.
I feel like this is like why I've kind of stepped away from horror a little bit fully as like the genre I focused on entirety of my content being focused on horror is because you run into a lot of stinkers. And it's not anything like the devs tried. It's hard to make games. Games are hard to make. And I will never like knock a dev for trying to make something cool. But it's just oftentimes you come across a lot of games that clearly are like the base is not fully developed on where they want to go with it, what they want to do with it, and so you just kind of scraping the bottom of the barrel to find good things that are fun or interesting or the story is.
I personally like I'm such a hater of jump scares. I just don't. There's a lot of horror games like as soon as there's it's kind of like a cheap jump scare, I'm like, I'm all right. I mean,
we've discussed it before. They anger me. I'm just like, fuck's sake, why?
Yeah, no, like, dude, there's a few like there's been a few times where like I think I was playing I'm not. It's not the same as like what I wouldn't call it a sinker, but I was playing a Chill as Art game like a while ago, and it was I was playing I was playing the convenience store. This was like before we moved. And it was the jump scare in the camera, and it got clipped because you could see, and it's just it fully encapsulates me as with jump scares. You see me get visibly angry. I don't say anything. I get scared, and then my face like relaxes in like anger, and then I relax again. And it's like
I don't like loud noises. I hate loud noises. So anytime there's like a really loud noise, I'm just like,
yeah.
I start swearing in French.
When that got pointed out to me, I was like, it's like you can look like you get pissed when you get scared, and it's like because I do. Because it's like every time it's like I know it's a jump scare, I know it's coming, and then it gets me, and then I guess I get mad at the game. Right. But I drop it. It's like a quick like momentary thing. It's just So a lot of so you're right. Like a lot of them are stinkers like that, or I find too much reliance on like loud noises and just something popping up at you, and it's like
it feels like a lot of games try to just replicate what's already been done many times over. So when you play the genre full time every day or every other day for years, you start to notice the repeat patterns.
Repeat
it's gonna
assets.
be one of those kind of games. Or like no shame on developers who want to use Unreal assets or just like assets in general.
You could pick up on the assets and recognize them.
I know exactly. I'm like, it's this house.
That's Unity Pack 5.
Yeah, it's like, there's that monster again. Like when what's the Stray Souls or what was it?
It was Stray Souls. Yeah.
When I played the demo, biggest stinker of my life. Holy, I don't know how that game got so hyped up the way it did. I was like, this sucks, guys. What do you mean? I noticed the monster from a different indie game I played. Why are we? This is not that great. Also, why do I have a golden Glock and the fact that I could barrel roll like Dark Souls?
Why not? How about that? Why not? You're asking a lot of questions.
Yeah, that dev has a reputation that precedes him,
And I don't even want to
unfortunately.
get into that dev. That dev is also a stinker.
Yeah.
But yeah, like I said, there's no shame in reusing assets. That's fine. I think it's they're there to be used. They're there to be built upon. So that way, you like if you're not an expert at 3D modeling, you can still build something cool with those assets.
Right.
But I see them so many times. I'm so tired. I'm like, oh, I already know the layout of this whole house.
Yeah, I can imagine.
Do you want to talk about A Quiet Place?
I haven't played it yet, so
this is a safe space, Kat. You can feel free.
It's no good. No good.
It's very slow.
Slow.
It's a crouch walking simulator. You like crouch
slap
walking?
Squatting.
So yeah, is slap squatting / Asian squatting. Your whole
I was sent a key for it, and I was going to check it out eventually. I usually wait for like the hype to die down a lot of times, and oh god, that already hurts me because like I don't like stealth. I get bored.
Yeah, that's 90% of the game.
That is what it is. That's all it is. The gameplay loop gets dry, gets very boring very quickly. I played on hard mode, to be fair, so I don't know if it's different on the easier difficulties, but you step on a twig, you're dead. You move, you die. You breathe, you die. You blink, you die. You talk a little too loud, you dead. You look at the monster, you're dead. It's very jank. On hard mode, at least. I've watched people on survivor mode, and it looks awful. It's definitely a stealth sim. If you don't like stealthy kind of games, it's not going to be for you. It was not for me at all. I got very tired of it very quickly, and I did not like it.
That's fair enough. Let's
go. I'm gonna check it out. I mean, I am gonna check it out, but oh god.
You just mentioned you got a key. Did you prompt that, or did it just get sent to you?
You got sent to me.
Yeah, it seems like they're like carpet bombing the keys. It's kind of weird.
Which is kind of concerning.
Yeah, it's like they knew something was up, so they were like, "Please play it, please."
Please, we need people to play it so people could buy it. But it's like every streamer I have watched play this game, they all hate it.
Yeah, they've all been critical of it.
Everybody just has a very strong thing to say about it that's not very nice. I can appreciate to an extent of what they tried to do with a series like Quiet Place. However, it gets
tiresome,
annoying, and tiresome and tedious.
Fighting a borderline immortal alien that will one-shot you with every encounter is kind of...
Because you can't fight back.
Yeah.
Well, we already had Alien Isolation, and they're trying to top that from what it sounds like it.
Yeah.
Or compete with that. But Alien Isolation, you're still able to fight back.
You're still able to fight back. You're still able to run around. You're still able to do all these things. But in Quiet Place, there's the ability to run.
But you don't want to.
You can't. You can't run. You can't run at all. If you run, if the monster hears you, you step on a twig, you step on some glass, and you hear the music start to play. Even if you were to try and run to the next place you need to go to, because you've had to redo that area 50 million times, it catches you regardless. So there's no even a reason to have the ability to sprint. Like, why is that even in the game if you can't? But again, I played on hard mode. Maybe you can run on the easier difficulties. It wasn't.
I feel you.
Yeah.
I will have to report back to you how I feel.
Yeah,
I'm pretty sure I'll have similar feelings, because like my issue with stealth is usually one, like, besides like it has to be fun, but also like I like having choice. and in games like if whether or not like if it's like solely stealth doesn't really like tickle my fancy personally because it's like a little I get impatient easily
Yeah.
and it's like I just want to go do so having the option of like you could either do like full stealth or try other like avenues to get to from point A to point B.
Yeah.
So I'll let you know. I'll let you
Yeah,
know.
I
I'm
think
following you on Twitter, so I'll let you know.
Yeah, let me know. Stealth is a very hard genre to pull off well,
Oh, yeah.
especially in the horror genre.
Hmm.
You don't see it very often in the horror genre. And if you do, it's usually a lot of people will just default to Alien Isolation.
Yeah,
But
that's
Alien
actually like
Isolation,
on my Halloween list is to go back to Alien Isolation, play it again.
I
But
have
like,
some complaints with that game too, though. But like,
yeah,
it wasn't so much the gameplay. The gameplay was fun.
it's kind of long though.
It drawn out its existence for
Yeah.
far too long for me. Like
I had a feeling that's where you were gonna go with it because like yeah, I felt the same way. Like I played I played it the first time or I beat it the first time last year. I started it once and I was just too nervous. Like it took me a while to like get like the confidence to play games like that because I just don't do well with stealth and especially like horror games with stealth.
Yeah.
And I finally like got through last year, and all I remember was I can't remember what chapter it was, but when I ask out loud, how much longer is this? That's usually not a good sign for a game. Like
that's when you know it's drawn out too long.
Yeah, you shouldn't be wondering how much longer is this gonna go because like it felt there were so many times where like we could have just wrapped this up a little bit sooner. But it sucks because I like the ending. I think the ending's fantastic.
They probably could have taken a few chapters off.
Mm-hmm. And we would have still landed at the same spot.
It still would have been the same regardless because it just feels like a lot of doing the same thing.
Well, you said it earlier, like there's a lot of value in shorter games. And and I agree with that because there's some games like they don't need to be as long as they like especially like we're all older now. Like I don't have we got there's so many options.
All games need to be at least 120 hours max.
No, they don't.
Minimum.
No, they don't.
Yeah.
Absolutely not.
That's what they all been. That's the direction of most games I see nowadays is that they try to make an open world, expansive, 100-hour gameplay. It's like, what happened to short, nice, linear style games?
And it's some games like
there
because
are some out there, but
yeah. And the fact that there's so many options now, we have so many different indie developers, so many AAA, houses and publishing houses. Like it has to be worth your time to be investing that much time. Like because I was talking about it was like the other night or something like in my stream, like because about like there's like the Persona games and there's the new one that just came out, and it's
that's
like
reviewing extraordinarily well.
I plan on picking it up. I just $70 is a lot when you don't have it.
Yeah,
but the thing is like I also sometimes like fight with myself where it's like when I was a teenager, when I was younger and there was a lot less options and like I wouldn't have so many games in my backlog. It's buying like one RPG and like or whatever playing like 100 hours isn't like that's fine. You can at least invest all your time in that. But now because there's so many things, so many constant releases, like I know we have Alan Wake, the Lighthouse coming out soon, which I really am looking forward to.
It's a lot.
There's so much. It's so hard. So when you're boasting like 100+ hours, it's like you gotta like make that worth my while, man, because there's so many options. As soon as I get bored, I'm gonna drop it.
Competing for your attention. Speaking of competing for attention, let's get things wrapped up so you guys can get on with your life.
Yes.
Oh, good.
Chronic yabber.
Oh, good. If I could go on, I would, but I know you are both very busy ladies. I mentioned prior to going live, Kat, that we like to do something called shout-outs, where you get to pimp yourself out, as it were, and things like that. And Pulp is about to show you what that looks like.
Hey there, I'm Pulp Fiction. I'm a I'm a former Instagram model turned variety streamer. You can find me on all my social media under Pulp Fiction, except for Twitter because so and so my name. I'm Plot Fiction. I'll be on later tonight. I'm playing through Silent Hill 2 one more time. I'm gonna try and get the last 3 endings and hopefully get all the collectibles. There's no promise on that, but I will see you tonight, probably between 4:30 5:30 p.m. Pacific Standard Time. Brian.
I'm gonna go last.
Oh,
Cat.
damn it, Cat!
All right. Hi.
I got all this. It's usually Peachy right after me.
True.
Well, if you haven't figured it out, my name is Katlink. I play a lot of horror games, but I also play a lot of retro type games. Recently, I did Dark Cloud, which was super fun. Love that game with all my heart. But currently, right now, I'm going through the Resident Evil 2 Classic randomizer. I'm trying to do a permadeath experience with that one.
Ooh.
I also do a lot of speedruns and challenge runs. I do stuff on DancePad, play games on DancePad. That's pretty cool. I also like a lot of Dark Souls stuff. Also, I have 2 cats and a dog. They're pretty cool. Catch me on twitch.tv/Katlink or on Twitter or Blue Skies. That's new. Anyways, Katlink on all of those. Check it out. Thank you.
Fantastic.
Thanks for watching. Thanks for listening.
Brian.
And hi, my name is Brian the Pirate. You can find me on absolutely everything ever, apart from Snapchat. I'm too old for fucking Snapchat. My name is Brian the Pirate with a Y. And I want to thank my co-hosts, as always. Peachy, it was fantastic having you here. You were great. Pulp, thank you for being on the show, as always. And, of course, thank you to Kat for being a fantastic special guest. Hopefully we can have you again on the show some other time when we get
I'd
to
love
talk
to have
about
you back.
many more games. That's going to be
talk on and on.
all the
You can
talking.
do a Souls stream with her. Souls cast. One
Yes, quite possibly. We'll have to speak on that in the future. But thank you all again very much for watching. If you want to follow and see more of us, we are on YouTube under Fully Rendered. We're on Twitter at Fully Rendered TV. We also have a Patreon where you get to see this entire show without ads, unedited, with all the middle bits, etc. as well in between. And that is on patreon.com/Fully Rendered. Thank you all again once more for watching. Farewell. We'll remember you.
Yeah.
Bye.
Bye.